It never becomes part of the spiritual self. The meditation strictly is called euphoric because it goes straight into your material side only, and your material side will then, your subconscious along with your psyche, will create an hallucination. You don't know where it's from. Because you're so anxious for something like this to happen, the individual goes along with it and immediately says, wow, this is terrific. You know, I'm in touch with something. Must be a higher self. Must have been a great king from Egypt. Surely it was probably me in a former life. And pretty soon we have someone channeling. Channeling is total fake. It is the development of the self. And it is a path you go on where you are steered improperly in meditation. The correct way to get in touch with other beings is, as we talked about earlier, is to use the meditation to properly become immersed in a meditative immersion, getting in touch with your spiritual self, and using spiritual telepathy to do that, the we form. Then there's no trance needed. There's no hallucination. There's no voices coming out claiming that it's the King Farouk or whatever. And then there's no danger of us, losing touch with our reality. I've seen many people who have learned to channel and do things have come to these realizations on their own, that it's a dangerous path we tread on when we start to meditate if we do not understand the proper principles of the mind and how the spirit works. That's why I went to some trouble of explaining this, because I'd feel very sad if some of you went out and began to meditate without understanding the mechanics really of how mind and spirit work, and you were misled and started creating your own illusions or delusions of yourself. True meditation is pure observation without desire. Desire is what gets into our material side and causes our meditation to become euphoric. Meditation that's guided by our own desires then creates these illusions. It is the purest means of true recognition and does not contain any matters which are based on wish fulfillments or hallucinations. That's what true meditation actually is. True meditation is founded on pure truth, pure knowledge, pure recognition, pure observation, and clear sight. Clearly seeing what it is and letting it speak to you without influence of your desires. All right, I think we're ready to discuss a couple of things. One, a meditative exercise on how we can begin to develop our meditative technique, and then we'll also discuss a little bit an actual meditative immersion technique that Billy uses and teaches to his own group members. For the use of for our meditative exercise, we're going to use a very common method used by many different forms of meditation, which is the idea of concentrating on our own respiration or our own breath. This is a very simple way to do it, and it's also a very good way to do it because the respiration is a part of the life form and is a very important factor. And by concentrating on your own breath, you immediately become aware of the transients of your own life. There's an immediate feeling of kind of calm and security and well-being when you do that. So I'm going to explain exactly how that works and how you can do it. In order to concentrate on your breathing, which is a very simple method of initial concentration, using the lotus method of sitting with your legs crossed is a very popular way of doing that. However, that's for people that are used to doing that. I know here in the Western world, most people aren't used to sitting in that position. It's very uncomfortable for them, so the exercise really wouldn't be possible. So if you need to, you might be able to just sit in a chair or get into a relaxed state somewhere. Any position where it's quiet. Get rid of any extraneous clothing, jewelry, hats, or whatever you may have on that may draw your attention to them or make noise. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll begin now. Let's say we're going to do this sitting in a chair, a very comfortable chair with your arms down on the sides of each chair. And we're now going to take 3 deep breaths. And when we take each breath, we do this very slowly. We pull the breath in, and then we hold it, and very slowly let it out. Let it out all the way so your lungs are completely exhausted of air. And then repeat that again. Do that 3 times. This will begin to relax the body right away. Simple breathing thing you can do any time of the day if you feel any kind of stress at all. Just stop and take 3 deep breaths and you'll immediately feel a little bit better. Okay, now what we're going to do though is we're going to concentrate on the breath as it goes in and out of our nasal passages. because it's doing that all of the time. This is part, like I say, of our life force, and is a very good thing to concentrate on. So to begin with, after taking your 3 breaths, let's now begin to concentrate on the breath moving in and out of the nasal passages. As you start to do that, you'll notice right away that it's kind of a cooling sensation, that once you start paying attention to the breath going in and out, that suddenly you notice it's kind of cool, and that it actually flows in right along the sides of your nose, right in the middle, and that it moves up the side of your nose and disappears up into the top of your nose back into your body. Don't follow it any farther than that. We only want to observe the breath just as it flows in the beginning stages when it hits the nasal side of the nasal wall, the middle section when it rolls up the side of the nasal wall, and the end of the breath as it disappears back into the body. Okay, remember, do not follow it any farther than that. When you first start doing this, for most people, the first thing that will happen is that you'll find yourself immediately getting involved in your breath control, and your breath speeds up or your body jerks a little something. It's perfectly normal. It takes a little practice to get used to the idea of observing your breath. And by observing, I mean not taking part in it. We're just going to observe your breath going in and out of your nose, and we're going to literally concentrate just on that observation and not take any part of it. Now remember, this is just an exercise for practice. It'll take some time. You don't want to cheat, no point in that, and don't force it. It takes a while for this to start happening. After a while, what we're working on is to be able to concentrate just on our breath and to push out any other kinds of thoughts at all that may come into our mind and hold them out, and be able to concentrate on our breath, say, for maybe 10 minutes. In order to do that, you're going to find it more difficult than you think, because it's very hard to keep thoughts out. It's also very hard to actually develop the concentration observation of the breath. Remember what we talked about in observation. We're going to observe it and not get involved in it. We're an observer of the breath. So you can almost see yourself like inside of your nose just watching the breath roll in and out. There are 3 stages to your breath: the beginning, middle, and end. The beginning as the breath actually enters the nasal passage, the middle as it sweeps up the side of your nasal passage, and the end when it actually disappears off into your body. As you continue to observe, you will notice that there are 3 clear stages. You very clearly will begin to observe the beginning stage, then the middle stage, and then the ending stage. And after concentration becomes even better, you'll start to notice the beginning and end of each stage. You'll catch the breath just as it comes in, and you'll catch the ending of the beginning stage. And then you notice the beginning of the middle stage, where the air actually goes right up the side of the nasal passage. And then you'll observe the ending of this middle phase as the breath moves up the side of your nasal passage. And then you'll begin to notice the beginning of the final stage of your breath as it begins to move into your body. And then you'll notice the ending of that stage as the breath actually moves into the body. Continued concentration on this will begin to even these 3 stages out, where the 3 stages then will be about the same amount of time and duration, and will have about the same amount of observation attached to them. And this is what we're working on. We want to get to the point where the 3 stages of the breathing become even and get rid of all of the unrest of the body. You will no longer have awareness of the body. Some people start doing this and it'll come so easy to them that 10, 15, 20 minutes will slide right by and they don't really even notice it. But the most important thing is to be able to observe without getting involved, without controlling our breath, observe the stages of the breath going in and out, and observe